Well, a Mormon community devastated and searching for justice after the murder of 9 Americans, including 6 children, this past week in Mexico. But the LA Times has a different take, turning a critical eye toward the victims.
The paper facing some backlash after posting the headline, "Victims in Mexico Massacre were tied to family with long history of violence."
Here to react is Fox News contributor and Fox News Nation host, Tammy Bruce. Get me, Tammy Bruce.
Hey,
Name of her
morning.
show.
Morning.
And Tammy, before we get to that heavy subject, just real quick about last night. You've done a lot of things. Where did this rank?
Yeah, this was extraordinary, and I knew it would be great because of the fans, but it was really remarkable, and it reminded everybody who was there last night that, in fact, despite all the rhetoric that we're all divided and we have nothing in common, this was people from across the country, different people, different lives, different, business owners, et cetera, all with something in common, which is a love for this country, because it allows us to live lives that best suit us. And it was fabulous, and it was very invigorating, and I was honored to be able to be here, and it was fabulous to be with everybody.
It was great because, when we do the TV show, we just look out at a camera that's got a teleprompter on it. We don't see the people out there.
We imagine everybody, but it was like a family reunion.
Yeah.
Because you know these individuals, and they know you, and yet in this day and age of social media and everything's virtual, to shake people's hands.
Sure.
Really great.
And to see what they think about the news of the day. And, of course,
Yes.
this week, the big story was these 9
Exactly.
Americans killed, murdered down in Mexico. The LA Times taking heat over what they said. U.S. victims in Mexico Massacre were tied to family with a long history of violence. Are they blaming, it sounds like they're blaming the people who died.
Yeah, the reaction to that headline also, the New York Times had a Twitter post about the family, that it highlighted this family. No, it highlighted the mass murdering cartels down there that targeted Americans and women and children. So that was how it was
Shot
taken.
children in the back.
Well, look, the headline is that in a certain sense, these people were asking for it, or they put themselves in that position. But here's what we've noticed. There's this. Remember the attempt to rehab al-Baghdadi's reputation by calling him an austere, scholar?
No one was fired for that.
I mean, and this is what we're seeing here, is that anything that the left or the Democrats think might interfere with their narrative, even if it involves mass murder, they're going to try to whitewash. And this is why the president is so critical so often of legacy media, and why Americans look at this and think, you can't even tell us the basic facts over a news story of the murder of women and children. How can we trust you on other issues? And this is where their bias and their politics comes in. All we want, and this is, I think, why this show is popular, why our network is popular, and why this last night was so successful. People simply want the right information so that they can decide for themselves. And when we see something this basic about who is to not be against this. But in that case, it's about violence in Mexico, the chaos from the cartels, the importance of securing the border. With al-Baghdadi, God forbid, should it point out the success of the president's foreign policy approach and his strength. So really, this is, it's horrible. Thank goodness for certainly social media, which did immediately call them out.
Yeah. The children were not only shot in the back, they were burned alive.
Yeah, so these are the details. They're horrible. But and the president reached out saying, let's help you with this. This affects the lives of Mexicans, of immigrants, and of Americans. We've got that in common. We have to work on it.
And we reached out to the LA Times. We didn't have a comment for them yet.
Awful.
We'll see how this goes ahead. Thanks,
Thank
Tammy
you.
Bruce.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a safe trip home.
Thank you.